John Barry, back here on the Rich Eisen Show from the Worldwide Leader in Sports. How you been, John?
Rich, how are you? I really enjoyed the Tom Coughlin Eli skit there as I turned. I always tune in at noon my time to check out your show.
Thank you, John.
So enjoyed it.
Yeah, you'd like that? Were they? Yeah, it was I guess putting Tom Coughlin's head on Robin Williams and Eli's head on Matt Damon as the "It's not your fault" Goodwill Hunting scene. It brings a tear to the eye. Brings a tear to the eye. What's your football team, John?
So did that pick that he threw against the Eagles, pick six. Brought a tear to my eye.
So are you a Giants fan? I didn't know that.
No, for other reasons.
Fantasy reasons? Fantasy football reasons?
No, other reasons.
Okay.
Very real.
Harsh reality reasons, John?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know you had some Musburger in you right there. Look at you, John Barry. I love it. So what do you make of Mitch Kupchak's comments? Mitch Kupchak, the general manager of the Lakers, essentially saying that this season's about Kobe, and because he wants to play every game and we would love him to play every game, it's going to be a quote-unquote a justified farewell to perhaps the best player in the franchise, and he's going to want to play every game. But at some point, you would probably like to concentrate on just developing all your young players, but we can't do that right now. What did you make of that, John?
I probably wouldn't have said that. Because you can't afford to waste a year. You've got to find out which guys moving forward are going to be a part of one of the great franchises of the NBA. And where this team has gone in the last two seasons is somewhere they've never been. I mean, this has always been an organization that when they weren't going to win a title, they were still viable. They were still a playoff team. They never went to rock bottom to rebuild. And they're at rock bottom for the last 2 years. And when Kobe leaves, if they don't go get Kevin Durant, that's the only guy I see out there that can put this franchise back on the map next year. And I don't think he's going there. They're going to be bad again. And they put themselves in a quandary because they offered Kobe Bryant 2 years, $50 million 2 years ago, coming off of an Achilles injury, the shoulder injury, the knee. And he's clearly not a guy that can carry a team. And I get it. He deserves the respect. So it's just a very difficult situation because he's one of the great Lakers of all time. He does deserve to go out on his own terms. But, boy, it's tough to watch.
Yeah, well, so whose minutes do you think he's taken away from that they would be able to pass along?
Well, I mean, you want to play Clarkson and Russell and Randall all together. And, when Kobe is on the floor, Kobe's going to have the basketball. I mean, Kobe's not going to say, okay, I can't do what I used to do, and I'm just going to be a facilitator. And that's not the way it's going to go. So if the ball's in Kobe's hands and it's Kobe getting 22, 25 shots a night, you're not getting anything out of Randall or Russell. They're not improving, and Clarkson. So it is what it is. I mean, he's here. He's getting paid a ton of money. Everybody wants to see him. Everybody in L.A., that's the only reason they come to a Laker game. That's the only reason anybody will go to a Philly game if Kobe's in the building. And that's the way it's going to be.
John Barry here on the Rich Eisen Show from ESPN. He's a studio analyst as well. Lead game analyst for ESPN Radio's NBA broadcasts right here. And the Lakers take on, as you mentioned, Oklahoma City tonight and Durant. The Clippers, the other team, if you will, or the main team in Staples, they haven't lost since Blake Griffin's been out. What do you make of that, John?
Yeah, very surprised. I thought that was going to be an injury that was going to hurt this team. They hadn't played well prior to Blake going down. But, boy, they picked it up. Austin Rivers has played great. He was hurt a little bit. He's come off the bench and played well. J.J. Redick is shooting the lights out. And, Chris Paul's still one of the elite point guards in the NBA. DeAndre Jordan, you can't miss a shot. He's shooting over 70%. It's ridiculous. I mean, obviously everything's right at the rim. But they've picked it up, and they've played well. I've been waiting for it. I mean, they were 16-13 and really fumbling around, and it looked like chemistry might have been some issues, and they seemed to ride the ship. And when Blake comes back, they look like they might be a team to be reckoned with come playoff time.
So which is the most surprising record right now? Would it be Miami at 21-14, Chicago being as good as they are with Jimmy Butler on top, or Dallas 6 games above 500? right now? Which one would you
Well, I
point
think
to?
probably most surprising would be Dallas. I didn't think that this team had a chance to be in the top 5 in the Western Conference. Certainly not at this point. They've done a great job. For me, the surprise of the Eastern Conference is who's going to be the clear-cut number 2. I mean, the Cleveland Cavaliers are far and away better than anybody else, I think, in the Eastern Conference. And who's going to take the mantle of being second? Is it Chicago? Is it Miami? Is it Toronto or Atlanta? None of those teams have been able to separate themselves until the Bulls of late. And there's been talk about chemistry issues there. Jimmy Butler calling out Fred Hoiberg, their head coach. Is Rose and Butler having problems getting along? Does Butler want to be the man on the team? And everything seems to be okay right now. And as I watch that team, they seem to get along pretty well. And I think that's going to be the team that will be the clear-cut second-best team in the East.
John Barry here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk Spurs, man. I just love this. They're so good. Nobody talks about them. They love that, right? Popovich loves that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No one's talked about them for the last 20 years.
until they're picking confetti out of their hair.
Correct.
I mean, so how do they match up with Golden State over a long series? Let's just cut right straight to the chase.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting because they're a bigger team, obviously, with Tim Duncan and LaMarcus Aldridge. You have Andrew Bogut and Draymond Green. So a clear advantage in size for San Antonio, an advantage athletically for the Golden State Warriors. And who gets to guard Steph Curry? I mean, do they want to put an excellent defender in Kawhi Leonard on Steph Curry and maybe wear him out? It's going to be absolutely an unbelievable series. I think they're destined to be number 1 and number 2 in the West. So hopefully we see them in the Western Conference Finals. And, boy, that would be some special series because it's amazing what San Antonio does. I think it's, 19 years they've won 50-plus games in a row. 18 seasons in a row, 19 seasons, whatever it is. I mean, it's remarkable what they do. Greg Popovich, the best coach in basketball, and to see him at it again, I guess I'm not surprised anymore.
Yeah, I know. And then Golden State is the Bulls' win record toast. What do you think?
Well, I don't know if that's that important. I mean, let's say they do win 73 games and they don't win the title. So who cares? I mean, it's all about hoisting the trophy at the end of the year. So I think if they get close, with 20 games to go, maybe it's something that they do. But I think right now, I don't think it's really on the radar. Steph Curry's banged up. We saw him miss a couple games last week. Who knows? If they stay healthy, maybe they do it. But at the end of the day, they want to win a championship. And if 73 wins comes along with that, it'd be fun to see.
Well, what do you make of all the conversation? I've had Shaq on the show. Barkley also saying it that this Golden State Warrior team that's 33-2 would get its tail kicked by the Bulls of the mid-'90s, that anybody from their era would put Curry on his behind, that nobody's putting him on his behind right now, and that this is a lesser brand of basketball. What do you think, John?
Don't all the old guys say that? I mean, back in my day, now look, you can't take away from what this team's doing. I mean, it's just like comparing players from back in the 60s with players now. I mean, could Bob Cousy play in the NBA? A lot of people say, oh, there's no way. He couldn't even dribble with his left hand. But, I mean, it is what it is. They're 33-2. I mean, they're an incredible team. They're doing something that we've never seen. This is the best start in the history of the NBA of 35 games in. So I'm not taking any way against them. I don't know how they do against that Bulls team. We'll never know. So we can talk till the cows come home about it. But I like watching this team. They're must-see television, and I love watching it, and I love to see them win.
Yeah, we had Marlon Wayans on the show the other day. He said he called Steph Curry a mixture between Reggie and Cheryl Miller with Tweety Bird's head, and he doesn't miss a shot. That's what Marlon Wayans called Steph Curry.
I think he's Barry Sanders with the basketball. How's that one?
I like it. No,
Okay.
I like it. You're right. And
he's so shifty and just crafty. He's incredible to watch.
Yeah, except he won't retire because his team's terrible.
Well, that's true.
That's where the comparisons end right there. But before you go, since you have a certain particular rooting interest for the pigskin, the question at richeisenshow.com today, go ahead and ask John Barry. Brockman. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Which NFL favorite this weekend, John, most likely to be upset? Chiefs, Steelers, Seahawks, Redskins.
The Redskins are favored?
Apparently,
One of my friends likes the Redskins.
one of them. Just one.
You know what? It's going to be freezing in Minnesota. I think, although the Seahawks are playing incredible football, look out for that one.
I like it.
Okay. Look out for that one. So you go Seahawks upset by the Minnesota Vikings. That's the way you go.
I'm going that way. I don't know. It probably makes no sense.
John, thanks for calling in. We'll touch base down the road. Okay.
Anytime, Rich. Good to talk to you guys.
Same. Thanks, John Barry. That's John Barry of ESPN.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.